FDR is sworn in for his third term as president, which makes him the only president to ever serve 3 terms. Aviator Charles Lindbergh testifies in front of Congress recommending the U.S. negotiate with Adolf Hitler about a peace pact, and FDR signs Lend-Lease Act to provide support to the Allies. The year is 1941. And this car was a joint effort from 2 struggling manufacturers to try to stay in the automotive game. But before getting into all of it, I'm your host, Jay. Welcome to What It's Like, the automotive channel that does mini documentaries on lost and forgotten icons from the past. Learn and explore what made these cars so great. History, specs, design. We post between 4 and 5 episodes each week, with engine episodes generally on Wednesdays. I know some people are like, blah, blah, blah. I'm just trying to tell you what we're about. If you dig history, subscribe and hit the bell icon next to it to never miss a video. A couple of announcements real quick before getting into all of it. This week, and is the best car show this side of the Mississippi, in my humble opinion, the Old Car Festival, Dearborn, Michigan, right next to the Henry Ford at the Greenfield Village. It will be Saturday, September 7th and Sunday, September 8th. I hope to see you there. Also coming up really quick is Hershey, which will be the 8th through the 11th of October. And that is the Antique Car Club of America Eastern Meet in Hershey, Pennsylvania. Also, if you guys know of any cool epic car events coming up, put it in the comment section. I'm sure that there's people that can't go to the Greenfield Village or Hershey based on their location. All right, 1941, Graham model lineup. But before getting into all of that, it's story time. Graham Page was founded in 1927, and it grew out of 2 companies, Graham and Page. Page was based in Detroit, USA, and they sold luxury cars from 1908 to 1927. Founded by Frederick Osgood Page. Let's stop there for a second and talk about the Graham brothers, Joseph B., Robert C., and Ray A. After making money in the glass manufacturing business, the brothers would modify Ford Model Ts into 1-ton trucks. But not long after that, they would offer their very own truck line using various engines from many different engine manufacturers until finally settling on Dodge engines. Dodge would sell Graham trucks. It's important to note that Dodge didn't have their own truck line until Dodge would buy Graham truck line from the Graham brothers. They bought the company from the Graham brothers in 1925. It's important to note that date was before Chrysler bought Dodge. Chrysler didn't acquire Dodge until 1928. The Graham brothers brand lasted until 1929. The money was burning a hole in the Graham brothers' pocket, so to speak. They wanted to get into the automotive business in 1927. They would purchase Page Detroit, which made Page and Jouett models for $3.5 million. The Graham brothers would keep the Page name because the Page name had weight in the automotive business. Graham Page would make most of their bodies and engines. The bodies were produced by Wayne Body Company in Wayne, Michigan. The brothers purchased that company for a steady flow of bodies. However, they did not have their own foundry, which was a must to cast engines. They made their own engine designs, but they had Continental build the engines. But some models would use the Continental engines as well. Fun fact, after World War II, Continental produced a lesser version of the Graham Page 217.8 cubic inch displacement that would be used in Kaiser Frazer later on. The Great Depression was a real buzzkill. After the high of the roaring 20s, people didn't have money to eat, let alone buy cars, and by 1939, a lot of the independent manufacturers were gone. Graham Page wasn't doing so hot either. They didn't have the capital to retool. Another company that was struggling to tread water was Hupp Mobile, who was forced to sell their car plant. It is really hard to build vehicles without a factory to build them in. In a move of blind desperation, Hupp Mobile would go to the bottom of the Grand Canyon, blow both of their legs off, and try to get out. I mean, they would buy the tooling and production dies for the Cord 810 and 812, paying $900,000 Let's not forget, they have nowhere to build these cars. $900,000 you could have rented a place. Anyway, Hupp knew Graham Page didn't have the money to tool a new model, so they figured they could both share the dies, which would be Hupp's way of paying Graham Page to produce the cars. So just to be clear, both Hupp Mobile and Graham Page would build roughly the same car that used most Cord 810, 812 bodywork, but with a different hood, front fascia, fenders. The Hupp Mobile was originally supposed to be called the Junior 6. It would become the Skylark. Graham Page model was called the Hollywood. Hupp had issues bringing their car to market. A lot of pre-orders were canceled, and Hupp would only make 319 units before ceasing production. Because this was a joint venture based on, better yet, modified Cord 810, let's compare the Hupp Skylark on top, Cord 810 in the center, Graham Hollywood on the bottom. John Tajarda, same guy who designed the Lincoln Zephyr, was brought in to just do a facelift, getting rid of the coffin nose, as well as the pop-up headlights. Both the Hupp Mobile and Graham Page have the traditional contemporary for the time pod headlights. So the fenders are different, bumpers are different between all three cars. The Hupp Mobile has painted top grille, whereas the Graham Page sports a bright grille. Different badging, of course, all roughly in the same area. Also notice the grille doesn't set back as far like on the Cord. Moving to the side profile, the first thing you'll notice is the Cord is longer, and that's because it is. The Cord also rides a longer wheelbase than the Hupp or the Graham Page. Also notice the hood on the Cord is substantially longer than both the Hupp and the Graham Page, and it needed to be long because the transmission was mounted in front of the engine because the engine was mounted in reverse for their front-wheel drive system. Hupp and Graham Page are rear-wheel drive, and they use a 6-cylinder. All three of these cars have different power plants. The Hupp Mobile used the naturally aspirated flathead 6. The Cord used it could either be naturally aspirated or supercharged V8, and the Graham Page used a naturally aspirated or supercharged flathead 6. The fenders are redesigned. They're not as long on the Hupp Mobile or the Graham Page. Also notice the louvers on the side. They're painted on the Hupp Mobile. They run the full length of the Cord, but they're just really small on both the Hupp Mobile and the Graham Page, but they're bright on the Graham Page. Also, just take a better look at those fender designs. Look at how much longer they are on the Cord than they are on the Hupp Mobile and the Graham Page. What's even more interesting is everything beyond the hood. So the doors, the rear fenders are all completely the same. Only the front part was changed. Moving to the rear, which there are a few key differences worth mentioning. The bumpers are all different between these three. Also notice the gas caps on the Cord is behind a door. Both the Hupp Mobile and the Graham Page have caps. The Hupp Mobile is bright, whereas the Graham Page is painted. The brake lights move from the trunk deck lid on the Cord to a fixed panel. Jumping inside to take a look at the dash and interior situation, all three have roughly the same dash location. They are just designed completely differently. It's interesting to see how each manufacturer laid out the dash because they're completely different. Also, the steering wheels are completely different between these three. Which one do you like better? Let's talk specs. 190.5 inches long, 60.5 inches tall, 71 inches wide. It rides a wheelbase of 115 inches. It weighs around 2,965 pounds. Price, $1,065, which would be equivalent to you spending $22,788.10 in the year 2024. And just for reference, the Cord was roughly $2,200, which would be equivalent to you spending $48,054 in the year 2024. It's also important to note that the last Cord 810, 812 was sold in 1937, so a couple years prior to 1941, and the car weighed considerably more at 3,890 pounds. total Graham Hollywoods ever produced. Graham Page would only produce the Hollywood from 1940 through 1941, and they only produced 1,859 units. Moving on to engine, which there was one engine, but you can have it in two different flavors. 217.8 cubic inch displacement, flathead inline 6, 3.6 liters. It was good for 85 horsepower naturally aspirated or 124 horsepower supercharged at 4,000 RPM. Up to 182 pound-feet on the supercharged model or 246 Newton meters at 2,400 RPM with a bore of 3.25 inches in a stroke of 4.38 inches. Compression is 7.1 to 1. Backed with a traditional 3-speed manual transmission, 0 to 60 could be had in 14.6 seconds with a theoretical top speed of 89 miles per hour.
Let's talk styling. Starting with the bumpers down here, notice it has 3 bumper overriders and or bumperettes with a bumper bar in the center. Grill, or it says Graham in the center. This one looks like it has added turn signal indicators and or running lights. This car does have a center line that goes towards the split windshield with windshield wipers that oppose. Hollywood script here right on top of the louvers. Notice this car does not have running boards. Has 2 cowl vents, as well as center line on the roof. It also has drip rails that start here at the base of the windshield and run the length of the cabin. So side mirror placement is on the door. Gravel guards on the rear fenders. But as you can tell, it's very Accord-like. The bumpers in the back mimic the bumpers in the front. Also has these flush brake lights with Graham script there on the deck lid. So just check out this door panel. It has this cloth material on it with the armrest door handle to get out, window crank for the big window, door handle to get out, has vent window. Coming down inside the pedal box down here, this keen looking thing's the emergency brake and or hand brake, high beam switch, clutch, brake, gas pedal. Just take a look at this interior. Here's what over the hood looks like. Here's what first person over the hood would look like.
On to the button switches and knobs. 100 mile per hour speedometer with odometer just below the needle. Amp meter, gasoline gauge, key. These ones, I'm not entirely sure what they do. I'm usually able to find the owner's manual, but I couldn't find an owner's manual for this car, so this is just a shot in the dark for lack of a better term. Choke, that is definitely the ashtray. Radio, the speaker is right above it. Headlights, which I'm not 100% sure on. Lighter, coolant temperature, oil pressure, clock.
Up above, there are sun visors. Rear view mirror is mounted lower on top of the dashboard, and another sun visor over there. The rear door panel is a lot like the front one, only has this massive cutout for the wheel hub down over here. Window crank for the big window, door handle to get out, vent windows in the back, very classy feature. Just take a look at the space back here. There's a robe rail to hang a heavy blanket on in the wintertime, as well as ashtray in center. Dome light at the rear. So check out how that opens. Continental inline 6 with downdraft carburetor, oil bath air cleaner. Notice the 2 horns on the firewall. There's a generator. Starter's down in there. Just notice how accessible everything is.
On the positive side, these tend to be cheaper than Cord. Some like the styling more than Cord. They are smaller than a Cord. They are rarer than a Cord. Traditional engine layout, rear wheel drive, novelty supercharged 6 option. Against it, body parts, fenders, hoods, grills can be hard to find. These are rust prone. All right, now it's time for Would You Rather. 2 scenarios today, starting with the first scenario. Which one would you rather have? 1941 Packard 120 or 1941 Graham Page Hollywood or 1941 Buick? I'm going to leave this here for a minute. If you need more time, feel free, pause the video. On to the second scenario. 1941 Hudson or 1941 Graham Page Hollywood or 1941 Studebaker Commander. Once again, going to leave this here for a minute. If you need more time, feel free, pause the video. Now it's time for Name That Tune. First person to give both the name of the band, song title, and the next word that comes in the phrase will have their comment pinned to the top of the comment section. I'm not crazy 'cause I take the right pills. I'm looking for the word that comes to finish that sentence, as well as song title and band. First person to do that will have their comment pinned to the top of the comment section. Thank you all so much for coming out and watching this. If you'd like to get in touch with me, shoot me a comment in the comment section below, or check out our Facebook group that correlates with this YouTube channel. I call it the After Party. It gives you the opportunity to share your rides, stories, experiences. Anything car related is shareable on there. If you don't have Facebook and would still like to reach me, you can always send me an email at what_it's_like at a lost and mostly forgotten web provider, yahoo.com. Thanks again for everything that you guys bring in the comments section, and until next time, toodaloo!